Dude, look how nice and incredibly open the house is right now. Let's take it to the next level and let me clean up everything so that for once in this house's existence, it is presentable. Now it is time to work on a video that I totally forgot I had to do, which happens much more often than you might think. No problem though, because I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional. Look it up in the book. Okay, all done. Now I have a choice between showering, because I'm really cold, or going for a run. We're gonna take option 2. I think it's the option that makes more sense. Actually, it's probably gonna be option 1 and 2. We run, then we shower. You know, sticking to something every single day is a really interesting concept because you learn about what it takes to really be consistent. And one thing I've found is that you can't be too idealistic. Don't shoot for perfection right away because shooting for perfection is almost as bad as doing nothing at all. When it comes to doing something consistently every single day, what you want to watch out for is burnout. So I had a goal of doing my dishes every single time I ate. The hardest part about that is sometimes you use too many dishes and sometimes you just don't feel like doing it right after you eat. Okay, actually I'm kind of going all over the place. Let's start with the dishes. The important thing to remember is you have to keep it in bite-sized, manageable chunks. So I wanted my dishes always clean right after I ate, so I used a couple of tactics. The first tactic was use less dishes in general so that when it actually comes time to wash them, it's a very quick and painless process. The second was that I wanted to form a habit around doing the dishes so that doing the dishes was just part of eating the meal. This way, every time I eat, boom, I just take out the dishes that I just washed. I basically just use them again. It creates a routine where I don't have to exert mental energy for it. Doing simple tasks that are automatic is really pretty easy, like washing your hands. Do you ever think about washing your hands and say, oh man, I don't wanna wash my hands? It takes 2 seconds, boom, 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 dry it, right? When you get it into that groove in your brain, doing the dishes then becomes quite simple. It's just following that same groove that you have in your head. It's just like walking at that point. But like I was saying earlier, burnout is one of your biggest enemies. So as you're forming that groove, if you put too much into it, you're gonna burn yourself out of it. So if you say, I wanna start running every single day, if you shoot for the moon, if you shoot for like your idealized version, you're never gonna make it. So you have to make it a more manageable, bite-sized, realistic chunk. So maybe like, even if it's just running down to the end of your street. If you can get that groove going every single day and make that part of your routine, then you can gradually build on that. If you try to shoot for the moon first, so if you say I'm gonna do 5 miles every single day, you're gonna do 5 miles every single day for 1 week, and then you're gonna burn out so hard and even resent having to run. Not only are you not gonna do it, but you're gonna be even less inclined to pick it back up. So in a way, it's even worse than doing nothing, because if you do nothing, at least there's always the possibility that you could start. And on that note, be as consistent as possible within realistic boundaries. So if there are days where you just can't do it, maybe the consistency is not worth it. Maybe it is worth taking a rest that day and then using that rested energy to come back again stronger the next day. Anyways, I'm not sure if I made complete sense with all of that, but the gist of what I'm trying to say is, if you want to do something consistently, I've found that taking a realistic assessment of what you're actually going to be able to do every day is much more useful and conducive to doing it every day consistently than trying to say, I'm just going to do it perfectly and I should be able to do it perfectly. and instead just be like, yo, I might be able to do this perfectly, but let's start with something more manageable and then work my way up to perfection. Okay, so I never finished my top 10 games of 2017, and by 2017 I mean... So I would have probably played more games last year, but the thing I always run into is that I just like replaying old games over and over again. Even if I don't like play through them all the way, I just like firing them up and then looking at them and admiring them. Like, I just got Radiant Historia for the DS, and it's great and I'm really enjoying it, but last night I was like, oh dude, I want to fire up Final Fantasy IX again for the 8 millionth time. You know, now that I think about it, I've only ever beat the game once, but I've played it like tens of times because I just fire it up and I'm just like, oh yeah, look at that world, look at that music, or I should say listen to that music. It's just so much fun to like revisit it. The story for this game. Was it Sakaguchi? Yeah, it was. Conceived and produced by Sakaguchi. Sakaguchi, man, that dude knows me. He's never met me and he knows me so well. Or like all of these Star Wars comics that Thomas gave me. I've read a few of them, but it's just weird for me that I just want to like revisit things. It's almost like I need for something to be nostalgic before I'll really get into it. So it's like I have to kind of dabble in it and then come back to it later when I have some nostalgia for it, which is a pretty weird thing, I admit, but oh well. It's kind of a good problem to have, I suppose. If I would stop buying new things, then that would save me a lot of money because I could still enjoy old things, which recently I've been pretty successful at, actually. Kind of. Depends on your definition of recent. So yeah, on our last trip, my shoes got completely soaked, and now they've developed a little bit of mold on them. I don't know if that's a big deal or not. I'm gonna leave them in the sun and hope that it's not. So I just did a live stream and I was telling a story about the time I said Wook instead of Luke. And apparently I butchered the story, so my mother's not gonna tell that.
Okay, so we're driving to a circus or something with my sister. She's driving, Robby's like 3. But Star Wars was very important in our house. Anyway, he says something about Luke, but because of his age and speech impediment, he couldn't say L's at the beginning of a word. So he said Wook, and my sister, being, just thought it was cute. She said, oh, Wook, that's so cute. And Robby looks at her with all sincerity and says, not Wook, Wook. Of course, then we all cracked up and we've made fun of him ever since. So anyway, there you go.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Much more sense.
Okay, that's gonna do it for today's vlog. Hope you enjoyed that stream. I take a little bit too long to answer each question, but I always enjoy answering the questions. Much more entertaining than I thought it would be. Also, a couple of you suggested that I start streaming on Twitch, my gaming stuff, and there's a much bigger market for people who would watch retro games on Twitch, and I think that is a great idea, a great point. So I will look into start doing that very soon. I'm gonna call my channel The Nostalgic Gamer because I will just stream old games and then talk about my memories with the old games. And I would love to do that. And if somebody else did that, I think that would be very entertaining to watch. So if I think it'd be entertaining, there's gotta be other people who would think it would be entertaining. So in any case, thank you for watching today's vlog. I will see you tomorrow.
This feels like, for once in this house's existence, it is presentable. How do you... The zipper. There we go.
Okay. Talking about dates for the road trip.